I experienced firsthand how grief can change you. You know, I never really experienced grief in that way. Being a person who still has my mom and dad, I'm still blessed to have my grandmother as well. So how this grief really changed the rhythm of my world.
First up is going to be Michelle Rhoney, and second will be Miss Dee Shepherd. But without any further ado, I'm going to bring Miss Michelle to the stage. Hello, Michelle. Welcome to the Horizons Author Lounge. How are you tonight?
Hello, hello, hello. Yes, the rain is pouring.
Oh, yes. Yeah, but I don't know if the old man is snoring, but it is pouring. So, welcome to the Horizons Author Lounge. How are you doing today?
All is well. I am all right. What about you?
I'm wonderful. I cannot complain at all. I'm really happy to be here.
Absolutely.
And we're safe.
That's right. We inside. We inside.
Yes, yes. So, before we get started, why don't you go ahead and tell the world who you are? Who is Michelle Rhoney?
Well, Michelle Rhoney is a proud African-American woman, author, a leader, HR specialist by trade. That's my career. A mother. It's all around Baltimorean, born and raised right here in Baltimore. Grew up here, still here, and this is where my roots are, right here in Baltimore. Yeah.
Nice, nice, nice. So, yeah, and I knew you were in Baltimore. I used to go to church in Baltimore. I used to live in Glen Burnie, but I used to go to church in Baltimore, so I'm pretty familiar. So, tell me what got you into writing.
Good. About 5 years ago, I think I started writing had always been a journaler. I've always just been a journaler and writing and just telling stories and being creative and things like that. But it was always just writing. And it was during the pandemic where I was like, okay, God, here I am, this empty nester. I don't want to just watch TV all day and work and watch TV, work and watch TV. I was like, okay, what do I do? And I said, okay, it's time for me to tell my story. And that's when I started my first book. And I'd been started it, but to actually bring it to fruition was in 2021 when I said, okay, it's time for me to get an editor to help me to kind of put all these thoughts together. And it published my first book in 2021 during the pandemic. Yeah.
Oh, wow. So tell us about the book.
So I'll start with because the second book that we're going to mainly talk about tonight is The Color of Pieces, but I have to, of course, tell you about The Color of Pretty, where it all started, and is basically The Color of Pieces is a sequel to my first novel, The Color of Pretty. And The Color of Pretty, Lola is a fictional character. Myself, I call her my alter ego. Lola tells about her story dealing with colorism, lack of self-esteem, confidence, and just not feeling good enough in how she was able to build her confidence through faith and determination and trying to be the best person that she could be. And this was Lola from adolescent to teenage years and then adult, and helping others to build their confidence as well. So that's a little bit about the color of Pretty. And then you fast forward 4 years later, Lola is back and she's an adult and she's in her mid to late 40s of where the book really starts out at, dealing with, this is a story that it wasn't just written, it was a part that was lived, an actual part of me that was lived. This book was born from some of the deepest parts of my personal journey through grief and healing and rediscovery and ultimately transformation. basically when life shattered in unexpected ways. I found myself standing in wreckage, total wreckage, just a mess, trying to gather what was left of my spirit, my identity, and my purpose, um, and just trying to put all the pieces back together. As a widow, a mother, a woman of faith, I experienced firsthand how grief can change you. You know, I never really experienced grief in that way. Being a person who still has my mom and dad, I'm still blessed to have my grandmother as well. So how this grief really changed the rhythm of my world. But still in that brokenness, I discovered some powerful pieces that still was worth putting back together, of course, absolutely. So in this book, it reflects some of my tears, some of my silence, the prayers, um, the heartbreak, the strength that it took to smile um, every day, even going back to work. It's a book. It was very heavy. It was very heavy, but it also helped me through a lot of my grief, my trauma. But writing it, it was many times that I stopped, I quit. I was like, no, I can't do it. I can't do it. It was just making me relive those moments all over again. So
I was actually
I
about
say,
that question. I was when a person writes about some of the most painful things that may have happened to them, and now
mhm,
you're having to relive it. I mean, every once in a while, something that may have happened to you in the past pops into your mind, but when you have
uh,
to actually write it down and you have to share it with unseen people, what goes through
yeah,
your
yeah.
mind when that happens? When you're going through that process?
Well, because in this book, I was telling a part of my truth that I did not share when it first happened. So, my first thought, when I thought about writing the book, I felt like I had to write it because I wasn't being 100% honest. I
Mhm.
wasn't being transparent in many of the stories that I told when it first happened. And and I think God just like, okay, in order for me to completely and totally heal, I had to tell parts of that story for my healing and
Right.
transformation to take place. And I think in telling that, I got to a point where I said I can't worry about what other people think, right? This is my story. So I have to tell it in
Right.
my way, and doing it in a not a auto fictional method. That's what helped a lot, definitely.
That's an interesting concept. I don't think I've ever heard it called that before. You said auto fictional method.
So let me say the word right, autobiographical fiction. Yeah.
Yes, and I was going to ask you that. So the story is
Mhm.
about you, but you wrote it in a fictional way.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Did that make it a little easier to write the story?
It did because it helped me create characters, right? That was some of the light parts of telling the story. It helped me create the people in my story, but they, of course, their names and things were changed and different situations were changed. It allowed me to ad lib the story a little bit, to make it a little bit more engaging, to make it a little bit more encouraging, so it wouldn't be so dark. You know, I want the readers to come out from reading this book to still say, "Wow, she did that. She did a lot. She overcame a lot, but she's still standing." And it gives men the courage to stand up for what's yours, no matter what. My hope is that it helps readers to, again, I said in some other interviews, that even when you lose yourself in a person or a thing, right? How do you get back to who you are? So I believe definitely it will help you deal with that. It gives you the tools. At the end of the book, it has questions. It has a letter even to the widow who may be dealing with a recent loss. But it doesn't have to necessarily be a loss of a person. It could be a loss of a job. It could be a loss of a thing, period. You know, that was my goal for this book, not just for even though it says overcoming pain and reclaiming power and embracing new beginnings, that comes in a lot of different ways. It doesn't just have to necessarily come from a loss, a physical loss from a person. Absolutely.
So first of all, the cover is beautiful.
Yeah.
What was the thought process behind the art behind it? Because this isn't just a picture you put onto a cover. There's a lot of art, and it looks like a lot of thought involved with this.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I had one of the most amazing editors and copyright people to help me with that. Those are glass pieces. Those are shards of glass, and you see those as their pieces, and you see that shadow of a woman walking through those pieces.
Yeah.
Right? Hold me down. You know, I'm gonna do it. People, all my friends and family who know me know that she's coming through this thing. You know, I may have been knocked down for a little while, but she's coming back. She's coming back better than ever.